At 3:14 in the morning, on the third floor of the county evidence facility, drawer number 206 slides open on its own, pauses for exactly 4 seconds, and slides shut again. It has done this every single night for as long as anyone currently working there can remember. Tonight, for the first time, someone is standing close enough to watch it happen with their own eyes, and the sound is worse than they expected. It is not the sound of a mechanism failing. It is the sound of someone opening a drawer they have opened 1,000 times before, certain of exactly how far it will slide. The case reached the agency through a channel most departments avoid using, a quiet request routed around the usual paperwork, because the deputy chief did not want this showing up in any public log. 3 separate night shift employees, working years apart from each other and never overlapping in schedule, had independently reported the exact same phenomenon involving the exact same drawer, at the exact same second on the clock, down to the minute. 2 had requested transfers off the night shift. 1 had quit outright. Agents Ethan Cole and Victoria Hayes were told plainly that the department did not believe in ghosts and did not care what the agents believed either, as long as whatever was happening stopped happening before a local reporter got wind of a haunted evidence room. The open question the deputy chief left them with was simple. What was inside that drawer, and why did it seem to be running on a clock of its own? Before touring the facility, Hayes pulled the maintenance logs for the drawer's locking mechanism, expecting to find a mechanical explanation the department had simply overlooked. The logs showed the opposite of what she expected. The drawer had been replaced entirely 11 years earlier, after the original unit failed inspection. A brand new mechanism, installed with a different manufacturer, different hinges, different electronic lock. The pattern had continued through that replacement without interruption, which meant whatever was causing it was not tied to the physical hardware at all. It had simply moved into the new drawer the moment the old one was removed, as though the behavior belonged to the space, or to what the drawer held, rather than to the metal itself. Drawer 206 had been sealed since 1988, holding a single item collected from an unsolved disappearance, a woman named Louise Abernathy, last seen leaving her shift at a diner 2 blocks from where her car was later found abandoned with the engine still warm. The item inside the drawer was her wristwatch, recovered from the passenger seat, stopped completely, the hands frozen at a specific time that had been logged into evidence exactly as found. For 37 years, nobody had touched that drawer for any reason beyond routine inventory checks. Cole pulled the facility's security footage from the previous 6 nights and found the same pattern on every recording, the drawer sliding open with no hand near it, pausing, sliding shut, always at 3:14, never a second earlier or later, as though the building itself were keeping an appointment nobody had scheduled. Hayes went looking for what actually happened at 3:14 in the morning on the night Louise disappeared, expecting to find it buried somewhere in the original case file, and instead found a discrepancy that should have been impossible to miss for anyone who had ever actually read that file closely. The official report listed her time of disappearance as sometime after midnight, estimated loosely because no one had witnessed it directly, but the watch itself, stopped and sealed into evidence for 37 years, showed a very specific time on its frozen face, one that did not match the estimate in the report at all. It matched 3:14 exactly. Down to the minute the drawer had been repeating every night since the facility installed its current alarm system. This connected directly back to the open question the deputy chief had posed. If the watch had stopped at 3:14, and the drawer was opening and closing at 3:14, then whatever was happening inside that room was not random disturbance. It was pointing, with total precision, at the actual moment Louise Abernathy's watch had stopped, a moment the official case file had never accurately recorded in the first place. Cole tracked down the original responding officer, now retired and living 2 counties over, and the conversation confirmed something the file itself had been quietly hiding for decades. The officer admitted reluctantly that the estimated time in the report had been adjusted deliberately, not by mistake but by choice, because the actual time on the watch conflicted with an alibi given by the lead suspect in the case at the time, a man who was never formally charged and who happened to be the responding officer's brother-in-law. The watch had told the truth from the very first day. The case file had been rewritten to make sure nobody believed it. Hayes pushed further and requested the suspect's full file from the department archive, a request that had apparently never been made by anyone investigating the case in the decades since. Buried inside it was a note from a polygraph examiner who had tested the man once, informally, off the record, at the request of the responding officer himself, rather than through any official channel. The examiner's handwritten notes flagged a deceptive response specifically tied to a question about what time he had last seen Louise that night, a detail that never made it into any official report, and that matched, almost to the minute, the time still frozen on her watch. The turn arrived when Hayes asked a question nobody investigating this case had apparently asked in 37 years. If the drawer was repeating the exact moment the official record had tried to erase, was it repeating the moment Louise's watch stopped because she dropped it, or the moment something else happened to her at that same second, somewhere the watch had never traveled to? Cole pulled satellite mapping data for cell tower activity near the diner from that era, thin as it was for 1988, and cross-referenced it against a decommissioned tower log the county had somehow never purged. A burst of activity, unexplained and unassigned to any known number, pinged from a location 11 miles outside town at 3:14 that same morning, a location that, according to county development records, sat directly on top of what is now the very evidence facility holding drawer 206. The watch was not repeating the moment it stopped. It was repeating the moment it arrived at the one place it would eventually be kept for the next 37 years, as though something about the object had recognized its own future long before anyone built the building around it. The agency recommended immediate relocation of the watch to a separate secure facility outside the county entirely, along with a formal request to reopen the Abernathy case, using the corrected timeline the retired officer had finally confirmed on record. Drawer 206 has been silent every night since the transfer. The new facility holding the watch has not reported any disturbance yet, though the transfer was completed only 9 days ago, and the agents were careful to note in their closing file that 9 days is not nearly long enough to know whether the pattern has actually stopped, or whether it is simply still finding its way back to 314 in a building that has not yet learned to expect it.